Hello class, I thought I'd make a video to help you start your journey in Chemistry 140. Um, this is an introductory video to show the workings of Blackboard and the ALEKS McGraw-Hill system called the Learning Management System. So you start at Google, you can Google VCTC. Go to the home page of VCTC, and you can do quick links. You can go to current students. Um, I'll just go to faculty, or you can go to your My Path. I'd say that's probably what you would click is My Path. So click My Path, and you should see Blackboard Learn. And once you get to Blackboard Learn, you should be able to click on courses over here on the left sidebar. That should show your courses for this semester. So we're going to look at Chemistry 140 online. So how do you know it's online? When you see a 19Z1 designation, that's an online class. These J101, J103, those are in-person classes. So for the online class, 19Z1. And that opens up the Blackboard homepage for the course. And announcements already been made yesterday. So hopefully you've seen that announcement. And so the way I communicate with you is through Blackboard announcements. And so you should look at Blackboard Monday through Friday and look at the announcements. Some announcements are pushed to your KCTCS email and some are not. So always look at the Blackboard announcements. So you say, why are some pushed and some are not? If I make the announcement and I post it, it generally goes to, it'll be in Blackboard, but it also generally go to your KCTCS email. If I make an announcement and I delay the post to the next day, a lot of times it does not go to your KCTCS email. It'll only go to the Blackboard announcement. So announcements are up here in this tab. And you have a grade book as well up here. And when you get into Blackboard, if this is your first day, look over your Blackboard Learning Management System navigation. I have a video here for you to watch. I talk about how to navigate Blackboard. So you have to be able to use Blackboard efficiently and effectively. And there are different topics on Blackboard here that you can access. Next thing is always to start here for all your classes. You should see this Start Here button. Course overview tells you that this is a fall 2025 16-week class. It's the course and section number. So the 19Z1 is the section number. The mode is online. Here are the course requirements, why this class matters, course competencies that should be addressed as you progress through the class, general education outcomes, which you can click on this hyperlink here, and then what course materials you need. You've paid a course fee, so you have an electronic copy of the book. And I have my own YouTube channel called Professor of Chemistry. I have videos on about every topic that we would cover in Chem 140. Also a Khan Academy, which is very professionally done. And you can find about any concept we cover in this class on Khan Academy as well. A molecular model set, you don't have to have that. It helps when we do some Lewis structures later on. You can use gumdrops and toothpicks if that works for you, or marshmallows or something like that. And then we have BrainFuse online tutoring. This is 24/7 tutoring. If used correctly, it can be an effective way to help you dialogue through problems you're having with the assignments in the class or maybe a particular concept. The requirements for the class is you should have a regular, consistent access to a computer not more than 5 years old. When we get more than 5 years old, a lot of times the computers don't have enough internal RAM to handle some of the video, or it's really slow, and that can be a problem during a timed quiz or exam. We do have computers on campus that are less than 5 years old. They are hardwired into the internet, so if you're on campus, you can use those computers. If you need a computer, you can go to our Newtown library and request a Chromebook, I believe, or some type of laptop to be checked out, and you can use that through the semester. You do need a webcam, a microphone. That's in case we have, well, two reasons. One for proctored exams, which are proctored through Respondus, and you'll have to have a webcam, a microphone, an ID for that. And then you need a hardwired internet access. So what hardwired means is that you don't want to use Wi-Fi, especially when you're taking a quiz or an exam, because it can time out. And so by having an Ethernet connected computer to your router or modem, you don't tend to have that problem. And if you do use Wi-Fi, I don't police it, but if you get disconnected, then it takes you a while to get back in. That time cannot be made up. Your grade will stand as is. So I'll always ask, did you use a Wi-Fi connection to access the materials? And if you did, there's nothing I can do about that. The only time I would change an exam or quiz or something like that, it's a system-wide error that everyone on the system is having a problem. And that doesn't happen very often. I mean, last time McGraw-Hill, ALEKS, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So we do use McGraw-Hill ALEKS. You purchase that when you enter this class. You do need a TI-30X 2S calculator or an ALEKS calculator. So because this is online class, ALEKS does provide a calculator. I still stress that you probably ought to get this TI-30X if you can afford it. It's only about a $12 calculator. And I just find it's much more efficient than using the ALEKS calculator, but you can use the ALEKS calculator. There's an ALEKS periodic table. It's right there on the right side of any problem. You can use that. And then there's the ALEKS ebook. And that's where you're going to read your materials. The syllabus, make sure you go over the syllabus. You probably want to read it more than once because this is where all the procedures and guidelines and rules are. Just like it says how to get in touch with me, make sure you put Kim 140-1901 in the subject line. I'm teaching 21 hours this semester, and I need that in the subject line to know which class you're in so I can address your emails efficiently. I usually address emails Monday through Thursday to 6 p.m. and then after 6 p.m. on Thursday, it'll be probably Monday before I address your problem. My office hours, if you want immediate responses, they are always Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Tuesdays, it's 9 to 9:30 a.m. and 10:45 a.m. to 1 p.m. And on Thursdays, it's just 10:45 to 1 p.m. If you want to schedule a virtual appointment with me, you click on this appointment link, and we can meet virtually, we can meet in the office, but I will have this is a bookings link, and that's how you book an appointment with me. So that's what this part is. That's my supervisor or coordinator, and that's my assistant dean. You can contact them if you don't feel like a problem's been resolved. I would contact my coordinator first and see what's going on. But if the problem can't be resolved between us, that's what we would do. Course description, I'll let you read over the course description. Make sure you meet the prerequisites. And once in a while I have a student that somehow got into class that doesn't meet these prerequisites. If you don't meet these prerequisites, do not take this class. You will struggle with it. You'll do poorly. If you need a science class, you've never had any science, I'd take the chemistry 120 before I take the chemistry 140. All right. Let's see. I'll let you read why it matters. Let's look at the attendance participation. So I'll look at how often you're accessing ALEKS. I get a readout from that. I also look at how often you're accessing Blackboard. I get a readout from that. If I see flat lines where you're not accessing this material for a week, then you are not participating in class and you are failing the class. So if it's by midterm, I may ask you to withdraw. If it's after midterm, you'll get an E in the class. So it's important that you access the material weekly. That is a requirement for this class. It is a participation requirement for this class. So it's easy for me to see if you're accessing or not accessing the materials. If you're not going to access the materials for a week, you should email me and tell me what's going on, and I'll respond whether that's going to be acceptable or not. But vacations and things like that are not acceptable. Having to go to work is not acceptable for a week. So I expect you to participate in the class, and do monitor it. All right, so read over that. Student accessibility, if you need some type of accommodations, make sure you contact Student Accessibility Services and get those accommodations. That's the only way I can give you accommodations is if they officially go through that office. You can call them, you can email them, and you should do that today. Don't wait until after the first assignments are due. Do it today. Here are the requirements for the class as far as technology and regular consistent access to a computer, webcam, microphone, same things that we saw previously. Your required textbook is the ebook that is part of the learning management system, McGraw-Hill ALEKS. And I'll show you that. But if you want to buy, if you're looking for a textbook, if you want to get a hard copy or a loose leaf copy, there is the ISBN that you can use to find that. Yeah, we talked about the optional textbooks materials there. Attendance verification. Okay, this is really important here. So the government requires that anybody that's enrolled in a class participate in class the first week. If they don't participate, they can be purged from the class. So there's a requirement, attendance verification requirement for this class, and that is that you must do and submit the initial knowledge check that's in McGraw-Hill ALEKS, and you must submit the prerequisite review module. Now, the prerequisite review module, let's do this. The initial knowledge check is just to see, can you use ALEKS effectively? It doesn't take very long. It's very quick. It's very easy. The prerequisite review, it's a lot of math. It's trying to see if you have the math skills to do Chem 140. And if you really struggle with the prerequisite review, then again, maybe not the class for you. Maybe you need college algebra before you take this class. If you don't need to look up the answers on the prerequisite, do the best you can with the knowledge you have. It doesn't matter if you score 40% on it. That's where you are. So don't, I see students who try to find every one of the answers for the prerequisite review, make sure they get 100% on it. That doesn't help you, because I'm looking for what knowledge you know coming into the class, not 100%. And as you progress through the class, this knowledge, we have post-knowledge checks, and they will address what you don't know. So don't short circuit that. It's due by 6 p.m. Tuesday, August 26th. When I look at it on Wednesday morning, whoever hasn't done these two items, they will be purged from the class. And it takes a few days for it to actually show up on the transcript or in your PeopleSoft account, but that's the requirement for the class. And all of your classes should have some type of no-show assignment. And they can be as easy as reading the syllabus, but actually mine is the requirement is to do the initial knowledge check and the prerequisite review. This is how you're graded. Everything's ALEKS, exams, modules, comprehensive final exam, reading comprehension of the material. Since this is an online class and it does have proctored exams, we have a program called Respondus. It's integrated within the exam itself. But you do have to follow the rules of Respondus, and these are the rules. And so make sure all of these rules or items are addressed before we get to exam time. Okay. If you have questions about this, make sure you email me. Probably the one I see the most is people forget about, you got to have a picture ID to show in front of the camera. So you got to have a webcam. You're going to slowly show your picture ID in front of the camera. You're going to show me your TI-30X2S calculator. That's the only calculator you can use, or the ALEKS calculator. You're going to show me 2 blank pieces of scratch paper, show both sides, and have a pen or pencil. And you're going to use the ALEKS calculator or periodic table. And so it is a very drawn out procedure here, but that's what the requirement is for online chemistry courses. Let's see. Rest of this, the main thing about grades is once the grade's posted in ALEKS, and you should see the grade posted in ALEKS. If the grade is posted in ALEKS, it will be your grade. It may take overnight to update into Blackboard gradebook, so don't panic if you don't see it in the Blackboard gradebook, but always check the ALEKS gradebook to see that it's been recorded. Now, the ALEKS gradebook overall is not going to be accurate because it doesn't take into account outside materials, but it does show if you've taken it or not. So make sure you see a score. That's how you know it's due, that you've submitted. No grade changes are made in ALEKS or after it's posted in ALEKS. It's just when you submit it, no grade changes are made after 4 days. So if you take a module and you have a question, like you say, I think this problem should be correct and it isn't correct, then once the assignment's over with, or during the assignment, either way, you can email me. I probably won't address it till after the assignment's over with, but I'll look at the problem and see if ALEKS has made a mistake. It shouldn't. At this point, ALEKS is pretty cut and dry, and it wouldn't be good for a company to have a lot of mistakes. So most of the times they're not, but if you have questions about a problem, just make sure you email me and I'll look at it and try to explain it. Here's the grading. 3% for the total completion goal, which is based on that prerequisite check and your post-knowledge checks as we progress through the chapter, through the semester, and then the total completion goal at the end. So it's all cumulative here. It's only worth 3% of your overall grade. The modules are 37%. The exams are 40%. The final exam, which is comprehensive overall materials, worth 20%. Standard grading scale, anything less than 60% is failing in the class. All right. So 60% is the cutoff for a D. Anything less than that's an A. There is no makeup work in this class, so there's no extensions. Some people they think this sounds very harsh, but here it is. I don't have soft deadlines and hard deadlines. I think that gets confusing. You either turn it in or you don't. So everything in here is a hard deadline that's in our syllabus calendar. You shouldn't wait to the last minute to do this homework or modules. You should do a little each day, get it done well ahead of time, but the deadlines that are on the syllabus calendar are absolute. So you say, well, I'm sick. Well, you get to drop your 2 lowest modules. That's about 2 weeks worth of work. So let's say you say, I have to go to work. Well, you can drop it. I don't have internet connection. My computer's broke. I don't want to know all the excuses, and that's why I mean no excuse policy. You get to drop your 2 lowest, and you say, well, my other classes allow me extension. Well, what I find with extensions is you either do the work or you don't, and if I give an extension, that cuts into the learning for the next module. And so I'm okay with that. You know, at least I would start a module so you have access to it when it closes out, even if you don't get it done. But if you don't do the module at all, you won't have access to it after the closing date of that module. So do a little bit if you can. That's why I would start module 1 today. I would do just a little bit of it so that you can have access to it. But this has worked really well for me. I don't have to judge excuses. I don't have to say one thing or another. So again, you get to drop your 2 lowest for whatever reason. That's what we mean by no excuse policy. Now, these aren't dropped physically from your grade book. They're just dropped in the calculation of your final grade at the end. All right. Not from the grade book itself. Withdrawal procedures. Make sure you understand this. Every class is different. My class, the last day you can withdraw from it is October 13th. It's a Monday. It's during fall break. Business is still going on as usual at BCTC during fall break. It's just that it's an academic holiday. So by midterm, you have to decide whether you want to stick with the class or not. You say, why do we have to do that? Well, if people are failing at midterm. They didn't get the fundamentals down. They probably should withdraw. That money goes back into the pool so other students have financial aid for the next semester. Once we go beyond midterm, that money's allocated to BCTC. That money's out of the pool of financial aid money. And so that is the advantage of withdrawing at midterm. And it allows you, if you're failing the class, to focus on your other classes to improve the grade before the end of the semester. So after midterm, you will receive a grade in this class. And if you're failing at the end, it will be an E. All right, I'll let you read the rest of that. Here's the calendar. So classes start, I have it on a Tuesday, Thursday schedule. So tomorrow, Tuesday, complete the initial knowledge check, the prerequisite review by August 26th. I do it tomorrow. Don't wait to the deadline and start reading pages 1 through 12. That's not too much, right? 12 pages of reading. I try to make it less than 30 pages for sure, usually less than 20 pages. I want you to read the book. I can't stress it enough. The most important thing you can do in this class is read the materials 3 to 5 times so that you comprehend what you're reading and you can take notes and write down what's in bold and really learn the material so that when you go to your next class, you are proficient. This class is great for those people who are planning to go into the allied health field and they're going to take anatomy, physiology 1 and 2. If you understand the chemistry of Chem 140, you've got a heads up on everybody else that hasn't had this class before they take anatomy, physiology 1. Because the first test in anatomy, physiology at BCTC is pretty much a chemistry test. And a lot of students fail it, and then they spend the rest of the semester trying to get their grade up. So it's important that you learn this material. And I try to make it digestible. Now, if you wait to the weekend to read, now you're reading 30 pages. That gets to be a little bit much. So it's a little each day. There's pictures in these pages too. It's not that much reading, but you do have to comprehend it. You do have to comprehend it. It's not just, and that's how you're going to know if you comprehend it or not is if you can answer the module questions without referring to the book, then you're in good shape. But if you're just hunting and pecking for the answers for the module questions by going back through the book, you're not there yet. And you're not going to do well on the exam if you're doing that. Another way to gauge how well you're understanding the material. So these ALEKS modules are just samples of the entire homeworks problems that are available for a chapter. So I can't do all the problems. And the reason why is because if I did, it'd be a 3 or 4 hour assignment. And you'd get burnt out. So you're going to do your ALEKS. That's going to count towards your grade. But the other thing I would tell you to do is do the odd problems in the back of the chapter. The odd problems in the back of the chapter, the answers are available. Try to work them out on your own and then click on the answer and see if it matches. If it does, you're doing great. If it's not, you need to find out why you're missing it. Could be significant figures, could be units, but you need to find out why you're missing it. So that's the way the class goes. Try to make it digestible. I want you to read each day. I mean, really, 12 pages. I think you can do that. And you need to read it. Most people need to read it 3 to 5 times. Reading, the reading is the number one indicator. Reading skills is the number one indicator of college success. And we're probably not that great of a reader. I wasn't. It was a long time ago, but I wasn't the greatest reader going into college. And I'm sure today it's even worse with all the social media and things and just and Instagram. The reading's that important. So this is the ground floor of the science. This is the central science. You got to be able to read scientific literature and comprehend it. It gets easier as you engage it, but you are going to have to engage it to get that skill up. And that's going to be required to do the next class. So try to make it digestible as much as possible, but the reading's important. So no show due on the 26th. Like I said, I'd have that done well ahead of time. This is when I purge, and then we start chapter 2. The ALEKS 1 modules due that day. Again, I would have this done probably at least by this Wednesday. That way, if there is a question, you can always email me and say, I don't understand this question. Then we have Labor Day. There's the Chapter 2 module. And I've broken the Chapter 2 down into multiple modules. There's actually 3. There's one from 2 to 2.4. There's one just for 2.5. It's that important. And there's one for 2.6 to 2.7. Once these are all completed, we'll have our first test. There'll be a knowledge check after you complete the module. And let's just say this. Let's say you complete this module on Tuesday, this 2.6 to 2.7. The next thing that will pop up is this knowledge check. You need to complete that before the exam. This is your little study guide to see if you can answer the knowledge check and you can do the odd problems in the back of the chapter without referring to the book. You're ready to take exam 1. So this knowledge check is just a helpful, and it does count towards that total completion goal. So the knowledge check should be done by September 15th, 11 p.m. But if you want to do it before that, if you've completed this chapter 2.6, 2.7 early, then you can go directly to the knowledge check. You must complete the knowledge check before the exam will open. All right, you must complete the knowledge check before the exam will open. So I get students all panicky. They wait till Wednesday to take the exam. The exam opens at 6 a.m. on Tuesday, and then it closes at 6 p.m. on Wednesday. So they've waited till Wednesday, 4 or 5 p.m., saying, I can't get the exam, can't get the exam. Well, it's because they didn't do the knowledge check. So then what you have to do is go through the knowledge check and hit zeros for every, answer whatever just to get it finished and then get into the exam. You don't want to do that. And then you're going to do terrible on the exam. So again, work ahead. These are absolute deadlines. Work ahead of those deadlines. It keeps your stress down and you learn the material. So look through the calendar. If you got any questions about the calendar, just email me. But that's the layout right there. Our final exam will open on a Sunday of finals week and closes at 6 p.m. on Monday. So make sure you're available for every exam, that you're not gone someplace or something like that. But a lot of times what I tell people to do is print off the calendar and put it on your refrigerator doors so you've got that to look at. The rest of this, I'm going to just have you go through it. It's really quite redundant. It's mostly stuff from the syllabus. The thing I will say about academic resources, if you click on that, if you're, you want to see if your computer is compatible with McGraw-Hill ALEKS, you can click troubleshooting here and you should get all green checks. If you don't, then there's something that needs to be addressed. Otherwise, you're going to have problems in recording your answers for both the homework or the exams. If for some reason you have a McGraw-Hill problem, like you don't agree with an answer, or you get kicked out and you can't get back in and you've tried and tried or whatever, you can always contact McGraw-Hill support, at least document the problem. So you would contact them and you would, the easiest way to do that is to just go down here and click contact us. But you can go through this as well if it's a technical support problem. But you want to contact McGraw-Hill immediately and say what your name is, what class you're in, and so forth, and they can document what's going on. And if McGraw-Hill says it's a problem on their end, then we will make adjustments on my end. But if McGraw-Hill doesn't say anything or doesn't say that there's a problem on their end, then the grade will stand. So this is your way of getting support for any problems you're having. And again, let me just say this is rare. It's very rare. Most of the time when there's a problem, it's because of the student's computer or the student's internet connection. It is not a McGraw-Hill or Blackboard system problem. So that's worth mentioning. The rest of this, I think I'll let you read. The other thing is, let me just talk about BrainFuse. That is our online tutoring, open 24/7. It's best to start this at the beginning, somebody you can dialogue with to talk about problems you're having or you don't understand something in the chapter. You may go through 3 or 4 tutors before you find one that really clicks with you. Once you find a tutor that works for you, that's not just solving the problems, not explaining, or you're not able to have that interaction with, but once you get the tutor that does interact with you, and it's not just solving the problems for you, I would schedule a weekly appointment with them to go over the materials. That's how BrainFuse works. You can also use the electronic study hall. This is where students can post questions, and they will be hopefully answered by other students taking the course. I don't generally monitor that very often, so it is kind of electronic study hall. It's a way for online students to communicate with other online students. So you have a cohort. It's not just out there. You're not just out there on your own. Works fairly well for people that want to use it, but not everybody uses it. All right, Learning Unit 1 is the fundamentals. That's chapters 1 and 2. You've got to get chapter 1 and 2 down. If you don't get these 2 chapters down, the rest of it starts falling apart. It's that important. And you got to start today. I have a lot of students that think, oh, I'm not going to do much this first week. No, this class starts from the jump right here. Today, you need to get started. Tells you what this is the materials. This is what you're supposed to learn out of chapters 1 and 2, this learning unit. Here's some demonstrate competencies. Like these are the actual, if you want to know what's going to be on the first exam, look at all these competencies. If you can answer all these competencies, then you're probably in pretty good shape. Again, without referring to the book, if you can answer those competencies, you're probably in pretty good shape for the exam. PowerPoints, I think PowerPoints are important. I think they're a nice outline to kind of say, oh, this is what I need to learn out of this chapter. All right. So look over the PowerPoints. I think they're a nice grounding component to build on from your reading and so forth. All right. So that's what that looks like. Yours is going to look a little different than mine. I mean, I can click student preview. I probably should have done that, but yours is going to look more like this. So it looks pretty close. When you click McGraw-Hill ALEKS, that sends you directly to ALEKS, and you should do that. You should do that today. What that does is it locks in your Blackboard account with your ALEKS account, and your thing's going to look something like that. All right. And that's how I know when you've accessed. This one says not started yet, so it means I haven't accessed it directly. Okay. But that's where all your assignments are. That's where, let's see, can I do that? Let's see if this works. Let's go back. Let's click on this. That opens up the class. Okay. Welcome to ALEKS. There's some stuff you got to address here. I want to make sure you know how to use ALEKS. Okay. You can hit next up here. See, they're guiding you. Make sure you look at this carefully. That's the hamburger. That's what we call it, the hamburger. This is your notifications. This is where you get started. Introduction to ALEKS tools. You hit get started there. And then you go through this. So this is use a keyboard, be able to plug in that. Okay. So clear, so I'm not following the directions. But anyways, what I want to show here is the textbook. So the textbook, this is where you access the ebook, all right? You click on the ebook. Oops. And I think it's because I'm kind of through a student mode through the profession. But if the ebook doesn't show up here when you after you get through this tutorial, you should be able to click on the hamburger up here and click the textbook and be able to read the textbook. If not, make sure you know. But I think it's because I'm in the system. All right. So I can't stress enough, the reading is the most important. The reading is the most important. being able to speak like a chemist, like what is a solution, what is a solvent, what is a solute, um, what is density? That's coming up in the first chapter. What is so special about density that it is a intensive property? Doesn't matter how much material you have, the density will remain the same. Doesn't matter whether you have a chunk of gold or a pound, a huge amount of gold, the density would remain the same if it's pure. It's a physical property. Those are the kinds of things. Classifying matter, that's going to be important. Is it a pure substance or a mixture? And then the phase of matter, whether it's a solid, liquid, or gas. All right. So I think that pretty much gives you a nice overview. I will say this, and I would do this after you've gone through Blackboard and it automatically links your ALEKS account to Blackboard. But once you use this a little bit, I would learn how to directly access ALEKS. So you can just Google ALEKS and you can click on this and then you can log in and you'll have to. So generally what people use as their login is their KCTCS email address, and then you may have to give your own password for that. But you want to be able to log directly into ALEKS. And the reason why is if Blackboard is ever down, you have access still to ALEKS. The other thing it does is, I believe ALEKS, you can do an app on your phone. It doesn't allow you to answer the homework or anything, but it does give you access to the textbook. So if you're somewhere where you have time to read, you can read it from your phone and keep up to date. But here's what the textbook looks like. And when you click on it, so it's going to work here because and yours will look like this. This is the newer edition. That's what it looks like. They haven't updated the other one. This is the hamburger. You click on it. Here's all your chapters. You start, chapter 1. Here's the different sections. You click on this section. Here it is. This is about the scientific method, and you click through here, and then it'll eventually stop, I think. But it goes through the whole thing. So you can go through each page of the chapter. This is a summary page. These chapter maps are important. I think these are good to look at before you start the chapter, because this shows you exactly what you're supposed to get out of this chapter and how you get from one point to the other. And then you can change the font size. You can search for particular words. But this is your e-textbook. Okay. So again, I get reports. I can tell you, I can see how much time you're working on it, time and topic. I can see how much you're engaged. And again, if I'm seeing no engagement whatsoever, you're failing the course. So I can see what you're having problems with as a class, the whole. So I like ALEKS. I think it works really well. I do think it gives me a nice map as to what's going on with each student. I can click on each student and see what's going on. All right. If you have other questions, feel free to email me. I will be posting an announcement this week. You've got the welcome announcement. You can get started. Like I said, stay ahead of the deadlines. You'll do much better. And if you have questions, just make sure you email me. All right. Thank you.